What is Lincoln's point of view regarding slavery in his second inaugural address? In this lesson, you will learn how to determine the author's point of view by analyzing key phrases of a section of text. Let's review. In the previous lesson, we looked at paragraph 2 of Lincoln's second inaugural address and took notes about what Lincoln said was happening during his first inaugural address. 4 years ago, the country was anxious that the Civil War would come. He accuses insurgent agents for their divisiveness and the South for making war, even though neither party wanted war. In the next paragraph, Lincoln explains that the Civil War's root cause was slavery. Let's take a look at the steps we will take to find out more about Lincoln's point of view regarding slavery. First, notice where an author addresses an important issue. Next, mark key phrases in the text that show the author's attitude. Then, ask yourself, what is the author saying about this issue? Finally, jot down notes about the author's attitude toward the issue. First, let's notice where an author addresses an important issue. You may have noticed that paragraph 3 is disproportionately longer than the other paragraphs in Lincoln's speech. When an author devotes a long section of text to addressing an issue, this often means that it is very important or worthy of a lengthy explanation. In this paragraph, Lincoln discusses slavery. We're going to be looking at the second half of the paragraph to closely examine Lincoln's point of view. Now that we've narrowed down our focus, let's mark key phrases in the text that show the author's attitude. As I read the section of text, it seems that this part shows Lincoln's attitude. He gives both North and South this terrible war as the woe due to those by whom the offense came. The last part seems like a stern reprimand, further illustrating his point. If God wills that it continue until all the wealth piled by the bondsman's 250 years of unrequited toil shall be sunk, and until every drop of blood drawn with the lash shall be paid by another drawn by the sword, as was said 3,000 years ago, so still it must be said, the judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. So that's what I'm going to mark from this section of the text. At this point, you can ask yourself, what is the author saying about this issue? The first part we highlighted seems to show that Lincoln believed that the war is righteous punishment inflicted on both North and South by a just God for the terrible crime of slavery in America. The second part we highlighted seems to further illustrate this point by saying, we deserve this mighty scourge of war to continue until the bondsman's wealth piled up over the last 250 years is sunk, and every drop of blood shed by lashes is atoned for by the bloodshed of the sword during the war. This powerful illustration shows how Lincoln believes that America deserves harsh punishment for its 250-year history of slave brutality. Now let's jot down notes about the author's attitude toward the issue of slavery. The first thing we understand is that Lincoln believes that slavery is a brutal crime. So that's what I'll write down. He further illustrates the point with the idea that if the Civil War is atonement for the sin of slavery, the nation's suffering has not yet equaled the 250 years of slave brutality. These notes about Lincoln's point of view regarding slavery will help us have a deeper understanding of the inaugural address as we further examine the text. Again, here are the steps you can take when looking for an author's point of view. First, notice where an author addresses an important issue. Next, mark key phrases in the text that show the author's attitude. Then, ask yourself, what is the author saying about this issue? Finally, jot down notes about the author's attitude toward the issue. In this lesson, you have learned how to determine an author's point of view by analyzing key phrases of a section of text.